This is Wayne June. You're listening to Legends of Tabletop.
Thank you so much, Wayne. I am so pleased that you decided to grace us with your presence today here at Legends of Tabletop. Let's see. You have a very wide and storied background, and I would love to hear more about what led you to do voiceover acting.
Well, I've been playing in bands since I was a kid for many, many years, playing drums, singing, and I don't know, around 1999, 98, 98, 99 or so, I started to get an interest in voiceover because I had remembered that when I was a kid, I went to the library at one point and got an LP, a vinyl album of the audiobook of Frankenstein, and it was just so cool. It was, I never knew spoken word really existed on any kind of medium other than, radio. So I picked that up. I loved it, and it always stuck in my mind. Over the years, I'd listened to audiobooks of one kind or another, but at that point, the genre wasn't developed very well. It was originally created to help people that were visually impaired. It's only been recent years, the past 10 or 15 really, that it's exploded and become a really wide open genre. Anyway, I started getting an interest in that because I was getting lazy in my old age, and I really wanted to get off the road. I wanted to find something I could maybe do sort of a lateral pass and change careers and just work in my bathrobe. A bathrobe job sounded great to me. So basically that's how it is. I did a lot of studying. I did every seminar I could possibly find. I took voiceover specific courses to learn about the industry and learn about the chops you need to develop. And since I already had a home studio going, I had kind of a head start on it. And it just built up from there. I put up a website back in the old days, which which I haven't updated since, concentrating mostly on social media for as far as a web presence goes. But the old website is still sitting there. I'm going to get to it someday. That's how I got into voiceover. It was basically an attack of laziness where I wanted to stop traveling around and I wanted to work at home, and everything just kind of fell together.
Okay, that's great. I mean, are you a member of any unions? Are you a member of SAG-AFTRA or anything like that?
No, I've been in the musicians union for a long while when that was my main concentration, and with the level at which I'm involved in the industry now, voiceover that is, I don't have the kind of problems that union affiliation answers and fixes. I'm pretty much a one-man operation, and I get as much work as I can handle, and luckily I haven't run into anybody that I've had any run-ins with that I would have to call the big guns in on. So short answer, no.
Okay. No, I couldn't help but ask because I know the accolades that have been received on some of your work, notably Darkest Dungeon, of course. And I know that not necessarily around that time, but a little bit after, there was a very large voice actors union that had gone on strike, notably SAG-AFTRA. And I don't know, did you ever have any affiliations with like BMI or what is it? Yeah, BMI. I think that would be one of the musical unions, and then another.
Gosh. Yeah, BMI primarily is about getting your royalties and stuff for your work. And when I was into music, I did have an affiliation with BMI, but that's not really a union thing. Okay. I think what they were doing with SAG-AFTRA, I think these kind of things are good things. Eventually, they end up things finding their own level financially, with people agreeing what a particular role is worth. And unions are a great thing, I think. I'm just not personally affiliated. I think what they were trying to do is come up with something that was fair for everybody. As I understand it, at least one part of the um, dispute was that there's actually some voice actors out there that were doing live action stuff to later be heard in a video game. And okay, now you're talking about a different skill set, and let's make compensated as well. Plus, there people had been doing things, I heard, where marathon sessions of hours and hours and hours and hours doing character voices. That kind of thing can actually physically affect you as well. So, I mean, they're about coming to a consensus about what's reasonable of length of a session, and what the compensation could be. It's kind of a new thing that they're just starting to catch up with each other, unions and voiceover, since the technological revolution that we're in the middle of is it's really changing possibilities in short periods of time. 24-hour periods, things can change overnight. And they're just trying to make sure it's equitable for everyone. I stayed out of the fray. I don't have any problems with it. So that's what I think. I just think it's a good thing that they're paying attention to it.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. I never even thought to consider the different roles that voice actors might play, such as motion capture and other items that I didn't take into consideration. But let's see, I've paid attention to you talking about your home studio and doing your recordings that way. Let's see. Now, you have musical experience. Now, you played the drums for a while, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
and
for
still do.
drums and vocals for about 45 years.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. And over the course of time, just fooling around in my home studio, I've picked up guitar and keyboards and whatever else I have to do.
Yeah.
And, on a professional level, vocals and drums, and on a student level, guitar and keyboards are coming into the picture. And I've had my own home studio for a long time. I started out in I don't know what year, but I had a Tascam Porta Studio. You ever see those things on cassette?
Oh, yeah. The old Portrax, yeah.
And that's where that started out. But over the you just get gear acquisition syndrome, and oh, I got to have this, no, I got to have that, and now I have a PC based Pro Tools set up with a million plugins and all that business. And I've got a little closet under my stairs. Walk into to a certain extent before the slant of the roof from the stairs above your head, before that knocks you. So you walk in and sit down, and I've got shelves built with everything on it, and the whole thing is lined with noise absorbing foam. So I have my little weird dungeon down here.
I imagine it's all lined with egg crate.
Egg crate foam. Yep.
Yeah. See, I just have a walk-in closet that's got clothes all around, so I just use that.
Well, I'm a guy, so I don't have all the clothes and shoes and stuff, so I had to buy the foam, but you don't have to,
Well,
you have all that absorbent stuff already in there.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, man. But yeah, my friend, I have a friend in the United Kingdom that is I apologize. I've got a little trip on the tongue there. My friend lives in London. He's an independent game designer, and he has decided to I want to be like Wayne June. I want to be a voice actor, and so he is trying very hard. to go ahead and take these things to heart, like the noise reduction and all of these things that you've got to do if you are going to make your own personal recording and make it sound like you're using a really high-end bells and whistles studio recording.
Sure, it's not that hard to do anymore. I mean, stuff that that today would suffice, 20 years ago, it would have cost you megabucks to get into it on a reasonable amount. You say he's already involved in the gaming industry?
No, he's independent developer. He is working on a project, his first project, and I have helped out a little bit. I've done some sound effects for him. I'd say about 50 or so.
Okay, because the reason I ask is because that's the first question to answer for your, as you probably know, getting into the voice industry. I remember when I first went and started doing seminars and trying to find out as much as I could about it. They would ask, "What have you been doing?" And the reason being because you can sometimes discover skill sets that overlap, but more importantly, it's a way to start you thinking along the lines of, okay, I've done this before. How would the voice industry apply to that, and how could I use an advantage I have from my experience already in perhaps working it into that way, working it into an area that I'm already experienced in. So, I mean, if he's starting out as a developer and getting into, developing games, pretty quickly he's going to have an advantage of realizing what his needs are. Then he'll know where to go from there to learn the skills needed to, produce what he wants to produce. And whether he does it himself or gets someone else to do it, hires a voice person to do it, he's going to know exactly what he's looking for. So that gives you an advantage in that way.
Yes, that it does. I mean, and then also with my own, I mean, my little handheld mic, this works perfect for me.
Sure.
and for what I do. So oftentimes I'll I will make my husband dinner and be like, oh, okay, you have hamburger, honey, it's going to be a little late. I'm going to play with your food and record it and squish the meat around.
little too much information there, maybe. I don't know.
No, just doing some light Foley stuff. It's fun.
Hamburger Foley.
Yes. The monster tears the human apart. So.
Not to ever go out to dinner with you guys. You gonna finish that?
Yeah, I'm gonna finish it. It's gonna take a while for me to cook your burger, dear, but I've just got to finish playing with it first. So, oh well. Fun times, fun times. So now, other than Darkest Dungeon, what audiobooks have you done?
I've done a mess of them. Most of the ones that are commercially available now, you can find them on a site called audible.com, Audible. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's like they've got the corner on retail downloads for audiobooks. They cornered the market on that, and they're really reasonably priced. They have different membership levels, etc. And you don't even have to be a member to buy a book, but you get really big discounts if you get a membership and say, buy 12 books over the course of a year or 2 years or something like that. So depending on what your involvement as a listener with audiobooks is, Audible is definitely the place to check out. I've done science fiction and horror and mostly creepy stuff. That's where I seem to gravitate. That's where I'm just naturally creepy, I guess. I don't know.
You definitely have the voice for it.
Sorry?
You definitely have the voice for it, for the darker and the creepy. So yeah, I definitely can see that. And in a way, that's what got me so shockingly enough, that's what got me involved with Legends of Tabletop in the first place, is getting involved with, let's see, ask Lovecraft's Lehman Kessler way back when. He did a reading of the Statement of Randolph Carter.
Sure.
And then it's like, let me take this reading and I will add old school sound effects to this and make it like an old timey radio play. And
Oh, cool.
yeah, and so I went ahead and did that, and then it kind of piqued my interest more in the audio part of things, because I was in an electronic band, and I used Reason 8, and I've done some recordings in the past, but playing around with those audio sounds and making up my own sound effects, that really stirred something in me. And
Sure. I've
yeah.
had a little experience with that in just doing little intros and lead-ins to my books. Sometimes I'll overdo it and go crazy and get license-free music or write my own and get sound effects and do up a little 1-minute intro, and it's fun.
Oh yeah, it is great fun to just create. Yeah, I've got a couple sound collections on freesound.org. They're all public domain, open to the community source noises. So yeah, what is your, is this the only video game that you've done, Darkest Dungeon, or are there other video games in your back catalog that you have done in the past?
Nope. This Darkest Dungeon is really my introduction to the gaming world. It really introduced me to something that I really didn't know existed. I'm not really a gamer myself. I've played video games, of course, but I'm not as seriously into it as most of these guys. There's a whole community of people out there. With Twitch.com, if you're Twitch TV, if you're familiar with that. Gamers are on the air 24 hours a day, just streaming live games, and it's just crazy. There's a wonderful community, great people out there, and I was lucky enough, I guess, to sort of, I like to say, come in at the top with Darkest Dungeon. It's a big hit, and I got to tell you, it's primarily due to the developers and the people that invented it and are working on it. They're extremely dedicated. They're serious about developing the best product possible, and they've really done a bang-up job. I've been lucky that my introduction to the gaming world was with them. They're just great. They're called Red Hook Studios out of Canada.
Oh yeah, you struck pure electricity with that. That is just wonderful what you have done and managed to do, and the accolades that the game has gotten, and you've gotten some as well. But first, I'm going to interject with a word from our sponsors. And I love coffee. But anyway, what accolades have you gotten for Darkest Dungeon, if you would care to share?
I've gotten a lot of just really great compliments, and I've got a whole slew, busloads and busloads of people that I'm in contact with now because I like the game, and it's just great. I have to be quick, and I'm always quick to point out that it's all due to the people at Red Hook, Chris Barassa. They've also got a great composer, musician in Stuart Chatwood, who put together the music. Power Up Audio is another studio that they've hired to do the actual effects and treatments on the audio itself. And those guys are the geniuses behind it. You know, I had I don't know, about 15 years ago now, maybe a little more, had put out a series of H.P. Lovecraft books. And that's where Chris Barassa first heard me, and he wrote to me, and he was, very complimentary, very kind, and he really liked the Lovecraft stuff, and, and it's become evident to me that he's really well versed in it, because in writing the script for Darkest Dungeon, it's very Lovecraftian stuff. I mean, he knows the stuff inside and out. He knows all the adjectives, all the
Yes.
Lovecraft is full prose, sending you to the dictionary every paragraph or so to figure out what the heck he's saying, and Chris got all that stuff down, and they created the atmosphere. They wrote the script. I generally give them 3 takes, or if not more, of each line they send me, and then they decide how they're going to apply it, where they're going to put it, which one they're going to use. So not only did he write the script, and in essence, because the way it's constructed, he actually directed it too, and they decided in the creative parts of the dramatic arc of the story and how it unfolds and everything. So, I just did what I did. I just recorded lines, but those guys are the geniuses behind it. So I have to be quick to say that. I've gotten too much attention for it, because it's all due to them. The real work starts after I get done doing what I do, and then from then on they make it what it is. It's just great.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the attachment to the voice though, because the human interface that is graspable in that game. But yeah, there's definitely a Lovecraftian influence. The purple prose is woven throughout.
Absolutely, I say.
Yeah. So, as in creative endeavors, is there anything that you're currently looking forward to, or gearing yourself toward, that you'd like to see yourself doing in the next year?
I'm pretty satisfied with where I've headed. I've got a bunch of audiobooks in production now. I've got a number that I just finished and have just hit the market. And as I said, you can find those on audible.com. One author I've been working with is named Jason Brandt, and he's got he's got some crazy stuff. If someone's if I've gained someone's attention, but through Darkest Dungeon, I would assume you have some kind of horror or spookiness in your background somewhere. You'd really love Jason Brandt's stuff. He's got one series called the Hunger series, and it's kind of a post-apocalyptic world where people have turned into, I want to say zombies, but that's not quite right. They're more vampires, but they're gigantic and monstrous, and they're more like the Incredible Hulk. So if the Incredible Hulk had a really bad day and turned into some kind of zombie vampire, and you woke up in that world and that's what everyone else was like, that's the Hunger series. And it was great. It was great fun recording it, and I just it really resonated with me. I've been reading science fiction and horror since I was a little kid, so that was fun. I worked with another gentleman named Bart Hopkins on Dead Ends, a series of short stories, and you can tell by the title that's not really a cheery little book.
Yet of Tales, yes.
I did some science fiction by boy, just remembering what I've got under my belt here is tough at this hour of the morning. I'm nocturnal, and this is for me. I'm working right now on a book called The Specimen, and that also is super creepy. That's going to be out this summer. And I don't know. There's nothing that I really aspire to that I'm not already doing. So I don't know if that means I'm lazy or satisfied, but either way, it works for me. So
yeah, always. That's wonderful that you found satisfaction. Isn't that the goal for us all?
Yeah. Yes. I'm also happy that I got my satisfaction in the horror genre, because I'm like really a creepy, dark town person. You know, I can guaranteed to ruin any party. So invite me. You know.
That's great. Now, will you be making an appearance at any conventions around your area?
I don't know. I've thought about it, and then but I'm really kind of a recluse, so not in the foreseeable future anyway. I may end up every couple of years in Providence. They have a Lovecraftian
Necronomicon.
yeah.
Yeah.
I may make it up to one of those one of these days. Nothing specifically planned.
Okay. Because oh gosh, what is it? August 19th through the 22nd. It's in conjunction with Lovecraft's birthday. And it's every other year. So that's that. One quick question. Actually, I think I'll have 5 for you. In the past, let's see, of all the comic books that you've read, do you prefer DC or Marvel?
That's a hard question to answer because they've both morphed over the years. I was a big comic book reader when I was a kid, and I think my first true favorite was Batman. But I did like Marvel as well, with Daredevil and Man and all those people. And I think Marvel had kind of an outlook to be maybe a little darker than DC. You know, DC was all it was, I don't know, almost like in those days was almost like the Leave It to Beaver of comic books. You know, it was very clean and all American and all that.
Very codes driven.
Mm-hmm. Whereas Marvel was not so much that. They've morphed over the years. I really appreciate the movies that have come out too as well. I mean, they're finally doing justice to Batman. When the TV show came out in the 60s, it was way too campy, goofy, and they didn't take the subject seriously. And, you know, you should take Batman seriously, damn it. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm. It's Batman.
I know. And, you know, now if you go to the movies and you see Batman, you really see Batman. So, I don't know. I like them both. I don't know which one I would like better. Which one did you like better?
I'm more of a Marvel chick. So.
Yeah. I guess anybody who plays with other people's food like that and records it has got to be.
Well, yeah, Marvel. That's what side I fall on that. But let's see, tabletop or video games, and why?
Video games, I think. It seems to me it I don't know. It gives you more to work with to spark your imagination. But I have to admit I'm not a big gamer in either score. I think the last video game I played was, I don't know, Odd World. You familiar with that at all?
Oh yeah, there was on PS1.
Yeah.
Oddworld, and then Abe's Odyssey and all of that, and they had the Pepperidge Farm knockoff, I think.
Yeah, Rupture Farms.
Yes.
Rupture Farms. What it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, it's been a while. I mean, I've been involved in video gaming since the Backtracks, if that betrays my age at all. So, yeah, but let's see. What was I going to say? If you could pick any superpower at all, what would it be in
life? Probably the ability to sleep and not have to get out of bed. I don't know. I'd have to make up some kind of title for that character.
Okay.
What would you call me? I don't know.
Oh gosh. The burrowing blankets.
Oh, okay, that works for me.
I'll borrow it from Brian Lumley. How about that?
Yes.
Good times. Oh, and there was another one that I was going to ask you. Do you prefer Star Trek or Star Wars? And there's a third option if you don't like either.
What is it again?
Star Trek or Star Wars?
Oh, definitely Star Trek. Definitely Star Trek. Star Wars. I don't know. If you can't say anything nice about someone, don't say anything. So Star Trek was just amazing, and still is.
Yeah,
Even the new movies with the, I think they're doing a good job, being true to the original.
they're trying to, man. They're trying.
I think they're doing it.
Because I am going to veer more on the side of Star Trek, of that little battle there, but everybody wins in that battle, and
Yeah.
it's like these are two IPs that I adore,
Yeah.
and I'm going to go with Star Trek simply because it just covers a vast storyline. There's so much content in there, for me anyway. But I'm glad to hear that you also fall on the Star Trek side of that line.
I didn't mean to insult Star Wars, because
No.
that's a great franchise as well. It's just for my personal tastes, I'd be Star Trek all the way.
And then I was going to throw in Dune, but I didn't know where your thoughts were on that matter. And that's Dune.
Dune. I read the book when it first came out. I never did see the movie. It got panned so badly I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to have to make the judgment, because I really enjoyed the book. I think Frank Herbert is out of his mind. And how was the movie? I mean, I've heard it got panned so badly that. What did you think of it?
Oh, it's been so many years since I've seen the movie. The books I love.
Yeah.
I liked the sci-fi rendition of the movie. It was hella decent. It was great.
Yeah.
So yeah. I feel terrible because it's been so long since I've seen the actual movie with Sting and everybody else in it, and I just have not seen it in so long. Not since I was an early teen.
Yeah, and I never did see it, so.
Okay. Oh gosh. Now, I know that there's another question that I'm to ask to finish off our final five. And I think I got it, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
And that's all right. Can you remind us where we can find your content?
Okay. Go audible.com. The book I mentioned before, what's going to be out this summer, I would highly recommend checking that out. I'm having a really great time putting that down. It's called The Specimen, and the author is Pete Kahle, Kahle, and he's kind of a twisted person as well, so I think you'd like his stuff, The Specimen. And you can find any of that stuff on Audible. And I'm all over social media, Facebook and all those places. So hook up with me. Not hooked up, and that's basically where you can find me.
Excellent. And with that, I am going to go ahead and call this episode. Thank you for your patience with the technical difficulty that we had at the beginning, but we did work through it. So thank you, everyone, for joining us at Legends of Tabletop. You have a wonderful evening, day, whatever it is.